And welcome to Control Alt Deplete, episode 26, I believe. I think we are in episode 26.
So I think so.
Yeah, I think the last one was 25. It's been a bit since we recorded one. Had a
Yeah.
few things going on. Didn't really
Out of town.
I didn't have a whole lot of stuff to go over anyway. But yeah, we are back and better than ever. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
You'll be the judge of that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am your host, Buckblind, on the left side of your screen, and on the right side of your screen, we have our other host, Mr. Bioshock. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Finally slept, so that's.
How long did you sleep for tonight? 'Cause you were supposed to be on like 3 hours ago.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate sleeping as late as I did. I figured it'd be yesterday. I would have slept so long, but I think I slept.
Yeah. Oh,
I slept about the same amount of time yesterday as I did today. But
okay.
yeah, not too bad, not too bad. But anyway, let's jump right into it here. Start off as usual with our weekly affixes, as reset was a couple days ago, and this week we have tyrannical, volcanic, not bad, and sanguine. But sanguine isn't too bad since it's tyrannical at least. It's still wonderful to have sanguine when you've got double frost mage.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Sang was fine. Unless you got to bring frost mage. Not just one frost mage, but two.
Yeah. Because if one doesn't freeze him, the other one will.
Yeah.
But no, it's not a terrible week. Sanguine just a little bit annoying, but it'd be worse if it was fortified. Fortified and sanguine is awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think we've had a podcast since they've announced it all, but the 10.1.7 patch, we're getting a lot of information and data on it. It's not a ton of stuff that they're adding in there, but it's a mini patch. But the release
new content.
Yes, but the release date is going to be September 5th, so we're just about 2-3 weeks away, I believe. Is it 3 weeks or 2? I think we're 3 weeks away. Probably like 2.5. But yeah, we are 2.5 weeks away, almost 3 weeks away. So that'll be some new content. We've got some new quests that's coming in there. The Dawn of the Infinite mega dungeon is going to be split into 2 wings for heroic. That'll be something maybe to go in and test out and take a look at.
Yeah. Yep.
We have the Dream Surge event will be coming in there. I'll probably go into more detail on this Dream Surge event in a week or two. There's a lot of cool stuff in there for leveling. You can get basically a 30% up to a 30% XP buff, and as well as doing time walking dungeons will extend the duration of that buff, I think up to 5 hours. So there's some potentially really strong leveling through time walking.
Okay, that's cool.
Which, speaking of time walking, the Turbulent Time Waves event should be happening again. I don't exactly know when it's going to be. I'm going to guess it happens as soon as the patch comes out. But that is what we had before 10.1 came out, where for the end of this first season, you had different time walking every single week. That they're going to bring that back at some point during this patch. So that'll be good, because a lot of time walking dungeons, good way for alts to get caught up, because we'll have the quests for every week or whatever, getting the 415. That's what it was back then. Whatever it'll be this time. So a good way for alts to get some catch-up gear. Although, and we'll cover this more when we go over the Dream Surge events next podcast. There is catch-up gear that you can get through the Dream Surge event that is champion level gear. So you can get up to 437 through the Dream Surge event.
Nice.
So that's or at
good.
least you can get gear that can upgrade to 437.
Yes.
It's not going to be 437, but you can upgrade it to 437.
Right.
My personal favorite thing that is happening with this new patch, though, is the Tuskar tackle boxes will finally be able to be toggled on or off on the minimap by the Find Fish ability. Oh, thank God. Oh, it's been an annoyance of mine. It's been a pet peeve for sure.
That's why I didn't do my reputation.
yeah, sure, that's why. And then another big thing that we have coming in is the ping system. You want to take us through that a little bit?
Yes.
I think you have a bit more
Yeah.
knowledge on it than I do.
So right now there is 5 pings, and each ping has a different look and makes a different sound as well. So you have a standard ping, just a unique sound, and then you have an attack one, an assist, a warning, and on my way. The warning and on my way have no sound. It's just a standard ping, attack, and assist that have sounds.
Interesting.
So they're slightly different. So it might take a little bit to get used to it, but like learning which one's which for sound wise. But the main 3 that are coming, warning on my way is like okay, but the standard ping, attack, and assist is pretty good. Like we were saying before too, that I don't know where I read this or saw it. Someone talked about it, saying like, well, you can make it so only tanks can use the pings. Now, we can't find it anywhere anymore.
It wasn't tanks. It was the party leader.
The party leader, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should be an option, but whatever. So ping system mixed feelings for sure.
Yeah, and I like you were saying, I'm pretty sure I saw something saying it was only it was going to be able to be usable by just the party leader. That kind of stuff. We can't find anything on it now. We both are like pretty sure we saw it, but now I don't know. But anyway, from looking at it, I haven't looked too much at it because I don't care. I don't like it. I don't really want it to be used. But from looking at it, I don't feel like it's really got much use outside of PvP. I think it's going to be very useful in PvP.
I don't. Maybe Battlegrounds. I think it'll be awful in arenas.
True. Yeah, I would say more Battlegrounds is more what I'm thinking of anyway. Because like in PvP, like putting a ping for assist or attack. I mean, what else are you doing in PvP in Raid or Mythic Plus? What are you doing anyway? You're attacking. Like that's all you do. I don't know, or the on my way. Just I don't know. It doesn't seem very useful.
Oh, I know exactly. There's a new class called Ping Lord. It's just all they do is ping. They don't do damage. They don't heal. They just ping.
There you go. It'll be a 4th spec of Evoker.
Yeah, Ping Master.
But yes, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it to be very useful in Mythic Plus or Raid, which to me makes me think that the only thing that'll be used to in PvP or PvE stuff will be toxicity. You die, you're gonna get pinged. But they do have. I did read
a limit.
Yes, if you ping too many times too quickly, it'll block you out from pinging for a few seconds. It also will tell you who is each ping. It'll tell you who it is that pinged. So that way you know exactly who it is, and you can report them if they're being toxic about it. But yeah, so ping system is coming in. I very mixed feelings on it. Hopefully, if it is something that just the party leader can use, it won't be an issue for us because I'm 99% of the time I'm the party leader. So, that'll be helpful. But and then we got some heritage armor to talk about. So take us through that.
Oh, I'm getting chills. I've been wanting a Night Elf and an Undead heritage armor for like a year now since I started coming out with them. So, as you know, the Undead one's really cool. It's got like the Lordaeron look to it with the emblem or the symbol and that kind of stuff. That was triggering a lot of people.
Yeah, how could they have Lordaeron on it? They're not humans. They're not Alliance. They're undead. They're Horde. Why do they have an Alliance logo on their tabard? Answers. I need answers, Bio. Why?
People just don't understand the lore. They are citizens of Lordaeron. Not all Forsaken, but a good chunk of them are.
Yes, so the way that the undead were created was Arthas created the undead. How did he do that?
From humans.
He went and destroyed Lordaeron. He went and killed his father and turned everybody in Lordaeron to undead. So yes, the undead are citizens of Lordaeron. Yeah. So yes, having a Lordaeron logo emblem on their tabard for the heritage armor, because that is their heritage, that it makes sense. So
so if you haven't looked, go check them out. The Forsaken one's really well done. The Night Elf one is good as well. But I was like I was telling you before, I was debating on going Night Elf just for the Heritage Armor on my mage. But then I was like, the more I was looking at it, the more I did more. So I'm
There you
just
go.
sticking with the Horde. But yeah, it's something we'll be working on as soon as that patch comes live on my downtime is to level up an Undead.
I mean, I don't think you
And
have to level up anymore.
I thought it was just a reputation you didn't need anymore.
This just says players level 50 and above can begin their journey towards acquiring the new Heritage Armor by speaking to Lillian Voss in the Ruins of Lordaeron, beginning the quest. I don't
I
think
sure
you.
hope so.
Yeah, I don't think you have to level up characters anymore.
Cause I know they got rid of the reputation for the. They got rid of the reputation like on this patch to 1.5, I thought. So yeah, maybe I hope you're right. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
To not have to level.
yeah, it looks like you don't have to level up. But
I hope that's it because I would really like that set as soon as possible.
yeah, it looks like there's no rep requirement or leveling up requirement. You just have to be level 50 or higher.
Cool. I'm gonna hope that's true.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, it says right here, no rep requirement, and you don't have to level up to level 50. Just so a boost or a race change will not prevent from starting the quest.
Is that in the article?
It's just in the comments.
Oh,
So at some
okay.
point they've changed it. So yeah, there you go.
Cool. That's
You don't have to
awesome.
level anything up.
Yeah. So next thing, I think I literally like that. You should take a look at that link for the holiday mount armor. I'm assuming it's going to be the trading post. I'm not quite sure, but it's like a reindeer looking set attire to put onto one of your dragons. I don't remember which one. I think maybe the Slither Drake or the Rain Drake
Interesting.
armors. I like it. I kind of like it. I like the look of it. It's very very simple.
Probably won't be a. I mean, it could be a trading post, but my guess is that'll be something with the holiday. Um,
True.
yeah, it'll be with Winter Veiled, some quest line or achievement or something. Who knows?
Yeah. I like it. I'm gonna get it. I get all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um. Yeah. So you want to take us away? Talk about the meta comps, nerf buffs, that kind of stuff.
Yes. So yeah, a couple weeks ago, we got some big nerfs to the meta, which of course the meta is for Mythic Plus. That is, the meta is Guardian Druid, Shadow Priest, Augmentation Evoker, Fire Mage, and Holy Pally. However, the nerfs did nothing to actually change the meta.
Yep.
So the only one that the nerf actually potentially could make a difference on was basically the Fire Mage, because the only reason Fire Mage is used so much is because their damage is ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
Um, you don't need it really for anything else. I mean, I guess the intellect buff, but that's not a big enough thing to where you have to have it.
Yeah.
So nerfing the Fire Mage damage, maybe we'll see that help, but probably not. The Guardian Druid, they hit Fire Mage with a very big nerf. It was like
Yeah.
7% overall of their nerf. Guardian Druid, I think, got a 4% across the board nerf. I can't remember what the exact number was, but they got a nerf, just all damage reduced by X amount. I want to say it was 4%, maybe 5%.
Yeah.
The problem is Guardian Druid damage wasn't the issue. People aren't playing Guardian Druid in the high keys for their damage. If you're looking for the top damaging tank, that would be Vengeance Demon Hunter, and then probably Brewmaster probably puts out as much or more damage than Guardian tank does.
Yeah.
Um,
BM pulls a lot of damage.
yeah, the big thing as to why Guardian Druid is used, one, they don't die. Like, they're so durable. They have tons of self healing. I know you guys did a key earlier this week with a Guardian Druid that did 70k HPS.
Yep.
And like, Guardian Druids just have so much self healing. They have group healing. They have great utility. If you're playing as a high mountain Tauren or as a regular Tauren, you have 3 different ways of AoE stuns. 2 of the, well, at least interrupts to stop casts, which 2 of those are 30-second cooldowns, and then the racial is like a 2-minute cooldown. It's ridiculously good for utility wise. You've got a soothe. You've got Ursol's Vortex. Like, you've got so much utility. With the current build, you can have the option to where you can have an instant cast regrowth that's like a miniature lay on hands.
Yeah.
And you can use it in bear form. You've got Nature's
Yeah.
Vigil. Like, there's just so much that it brings to the table,
And
and none of it is damage.
that healing you have, I can't count how many times I would have died if it wasn't for your Druid lay on hands.
Right? So
That's
yeah, like, I mean, Guardian Druid, the reason it's brought isn't because, oh, it does so much damage. It doesn't. It does a decent amount of damage, but it's there's at least 2 tanks out there that do higher damage than Guardian Druid.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's the durability. It has great defensives. I mean, you've got Bark Skin on like a 35-second cooldown. It's ridiculous how much uptime you can get.
Yeah.
Bark Skins also last for, like, depending on how you talent it, you can make Bark Skin last for like 15 seconds. It's ridiculously
And what's the
strong.
cooldown, like 1 minute?
No, it's like 38 seconds.
The cooldown?
Yes.
Damn.
And, yeah, and on top of that, you have Rage of the Sleeper, which you use that back to back. So you use Bark Skin and then you use Rage of the Sleeper, and they're both like 15 or 20% damage reductions. I think it's 15% for Rage of the Sleeper and 20% for Bark Skin. So you have back-to-back damage reduction abilities right there, and as soon as your Bark Skin drops off, you just hit Rage of the Sleeper. Rage of the Sleeper is a 1-minute cooldown, so you've got that. Then you've got Survival Instincts, which is like a 3-minute cooldown, and that's like 50% damage reduction for 6 seconds. On top of that, Iron Fur. It's so easy to always have 2 to 3 stacks of Iron Fur up, which right there, that's like a 45% damage reduction increase right there. Your armor goes up huge. Going anywhere past 6 stacks, you don't even get a benefit after that. It literally, diminishing returns nullifies it, so you don't even get any benefit after 6 stacks. But it's so easy to have. Like, you can have 100% uptime on damage mitigation as a druid tank. Plus your agility, so sometimes you just dodge shit. Like, it's so easy. But yeah, it's just, you know, their durability is why they're so strong.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
About druids in general, because I think in the druid class tree, not the spec tree, there's that new ability to increase your versatility at night or whatever, or your damage healing done by during the day. That's crazy for tanks as well.
Yeah, we don't really use that one because it's not that strong. It's like I think the versatility is like 2 or 3% at night.
Yeah, I think it's 3.
Yeah, and the day one is like a 3% damage. I don't think we actually run that. I'm not.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure because I know, like, on paper it sounds
I
pretty cool.
It's out of the way is my thought on that. I'm thinking I could be wrong.
I thought it was on the path down towards the middle on the right side top.
Yes, but we don't do much on the right side.
Right, it's all boomkin stuff mainly.
Okay, no, we do run that. But yeah, it's okay. Like one of the last things that we run on that side. Yeah, it's a 2% versatility increase at night and 3% damage and healing during the day. I mean, it's not that big. It's whatever. Most of our healing comes from our Ursol's, or not Ursol.
Frenzy regen?
No, Ursoc's Fury. That's what it was. So Thrash and Maul grant you an Absorb Shield for 50% of the damage that it deals for 15 seconds. Now, when it says Thrash and Maul, it also means Raise, because anything that applies to Maul also applies to Raise if you take Raise.
Yeah.
Which that is the current build, is to use Raise. So you get massive damage. Like, Thrash and Maul are our top 2 damaging abilities right there. If you look at any Guardian Druid tank, Thrash and Maul make up over 50% of your damage. So right there, 50% of your damage is creating a 50% Absorb Shield. So it's massive healing. So yeah, no, it's just they're so durable right now. That's why they're the meta. So again, nerfing our damage doesn't really affect that. They should have nerfed the Absorb Shield more or something, or I don't know. They needed to go different routes. Honestly, I will say this. Bark Skin alone, Bark Skin being as low of a cooldown as it is, and being able to make it last for like 15 seconds, is the strongest single defensive in the game. Plain and simple. Like, it is just unbelievably how low of a cooldown it has for how much uptime it has No other class has that. Most classes have a 20% damage reduction cooldown, but it's usually like a 45 second to a minute cooldown, and it usually only lasts for 8, maybe 10 seconds. Okay. So you've got a 15-second uptime with a 35, 38-second cooldown. It's ridiculous. Then anyway, so moving on, Augmentation Evoker. You can go a little bit into that. You know more data on how that works. But the Augmentation Evoker, the main issue with it is the buffs, and that is impossible to balance, I feel like. I feel like at the high, if you're playing with the high-level people, Augmentation is OP and is going to be used in every single comp, no matter what. If you're playing with, new people or lower damaging people, lower item level people, Augmentation is absolutely terrible. You're better off just going Devastation. I feel like Augmentation is very strong in the high keys, very weak in the low keys, and they keep nerfing the buff and stuff, but I don't know how you fix it. That's my concern. Is I don't think it matters what you do. It is going Augmentation is just a permanent fixture in the high level of Mythic Plus going forward. I mean, they'd have to nerf it. They have to nerf it to the ground, in my opinion, for it to not be used.
It's just not the way the game should be played, in my opinion. Like, I understand meta, but like, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating when you like to play, say, Devastation, and like you can't play dungeons, but like Augmentation is the way to go.
Yeah, Augmentation is super strong.
It's just like we were saying there, like sometimes it sucks. We're doing like a 15 or 16 on my and like the DPS either aren't good or they're dying all the time. Then it's like I'm feeling useless, So so that sucks. But these high keys where people are running without healers, like in dungeons, like with 4 DPS kind of comps, I don't know if they really do that anymore. But like, I'm just saying,
I haven't seen that yet this season.
It's easier to avoid a lot of the damage this season than the last season, I think, like dungeon-wise.
No, I'd say it's the opposite. This season it's a lot. Yes, because that's been the big complaint, is that there's a ton of unavoidable spike damage.
Right.
So that's the big issue.
I think that should be the case though, because I don't think you should be running more 4 DPS.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Nobody's running that except in the high keys. Blizzard overreacted to that whole thing. You had maybe 5 or 6 different Mythic Plus teams that were doing that. No one else was doing that. You weren't seeing people at their average players running 4 DPS. It was literally in the MDIs where you saw it. A couple teams in the MDI did it, and it's that kind of level of talent that you're going to see it, because most people aren't skilled enough to avoid all the damage. I mean, if you look at our keys that we run. If you look at ours, we take tons of avoidable damage because we just aren't skilled enough to avoid every little bit of it. Yeah. So the whole way that Blizzard reacted to the 4 DPS comp was just an overreaction, and that's kind of also the issue with AUG, is that Blizzard is trying to tune it around the best of the best, which makes it absolutely terrible for people that aren't the best of the best, because Augmentation. Like, honestly, Augmentation is not that strong if you don't have good people playing. If you have anybody who is bad at mechanics and constantly dying, if you have somebody that doesn't know how to play their class real well, or if you're just under geared and trying to get carried, Augmentation's terrible for it. Because if you lose 1 DPS, whether they're just not doing good DPS, or whether they're dying, or whether they're under geared, if you lose 1 DPS, with an Augmentation, you essentially lost 2 DPS, because Augmentation does so little damage on their own. And I think, to me, my solution for Augmentation, and this is kind of what my vision, not delete it. My vision of what I thought Augmentation was going to be was like, it'll buff the damage of everyone else by roughly 10%.
10, yeah.
And so then you get 10% extra damage for your tank, 10% extra damage from each DPS. So there's 30% extra damage. And if everyone's doing, if you're balancing around 100k, then all of them are doing 110k now, and the Augmentation does 70k. The reality is that it's more like all of them do, instead of doing 100k, they're all doing 130k, and your Augmentation is doing 30k on their own. And I
Yeah.
think that's an issue to where they need to be able to contribute more if a DPS dies. And I don't know how you do that. Here's a thought that I had. I don't know if it would necessarily make a difference, but I think if what should happen is, say, as an augmentation invoker, you put your buff on the rest of the party, and let's say a DPS dies, whatever buff they had on them, all the buffs that you had put on the augmentation has put on them, the augmentation should then receive those buffs, and it should stack on top of whatever buffs they already had on themselves.
Yeah.
So like if it's if it's, what is it? Is it your versatility, or is it, no, it's your primary stat. That's what it is. So
For Ebb and Might.
Yes,
So how it works is you got Ebb and Might, which increases your main stat, and then when they use an empowered ability, it increases versatility by about 14%. So.
But yeah, so if they have Ebb and Might, then it increases. Let's say it increases your what's the percentage on that? Like 8% or 10%?
I only know it's 1400. This main stat.
Okay, so yeah, let's say 1400 then. So let's say you have Ebb and Might, and it increases the everyone's primary stat by 1400. If a DPS dies, the augmentation invoker should now also get another 1400 main stat increase. That's how I think that should work. Until that buff would have worn off. I think that's how that should work. And if you extend the buff, then you extend the buff on yourself too. Like if you extend it with everyone else, then yeah. Until that person is back in combat range or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's got to be a way to make up for when a DPS dies. The augmentation doing the same damage as a healer just doesn't work. So
yeah,
I don't know. That's something I feel like they got to fix.
I said it earlier, but I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I'm just reacting out of rage, but I don't like support classes anymore. And I thought it'd be okay. I thought, hey, a new role, get maybe like a priest one or like a paladin one or something.
Right.
Or like, and just the way that they handled this one, it could be better for sure. But like, the fact is, it's just like, I don't think it's healthy for the game.
Well, and again,
unless with this tuning,
I still feel like a support role could be viable and could be good, but I think what they did was augmentation is too extreme. I think it needs to be less buffing. Like, it needs to buff everyone else, but not to such a high amount that augmentation buffs for, and then let them do a lot more damage themselves. Because again, to me, the biggest issue is that augmentation is so dependent on the skill of everyone but the augmentation evoker. And that's just, to me, that's not good for any class whatsoever. Because here's the thing. If you have a strong healer, your healer can overcome just about any stupidity that the other people make. If you have a strong tank, your tank can hold threat, have great routes, and it's going to help the team. Even if you have weak DPS, if your tank can do a bunch of damage, you're fine. If you have strong DPS and one of the DPS is weak, fine, whatever. The other two DPS can carry them. Not a big deal. But all of those classes have all those roles have one thing in common. You are as strong as your skill level. Augmentation, you can play augmentation perfectly, but if the people that are playing the DPS or the tank or the healer, if they aren't good at what they're doing, that hurts the augmentation evoker a ton. Again, if you have a DPS that just is getting hit by every mechanic and is dead half the dungeon, the augmentation's numbers are going to look absolutely awful, and it's not the augmentation's fault. They can literally play the augmentation evoker to a T perfectly, hit every button exactly perfect, 100% parse if everyone had stayed alive. But and I think that's my issue with it, is that your contribution and how well augmentation performs is not in the hands of the augmentation evoker, and that is a dumb, awful concept in my opinion.
I agree.
Like I said, I think it should be, right now it's I mean, only augmentation's only doing like 30% of the damage that they are contributing for in a strong group. And if you're doing 40k DPS as an augmentation evoker and the rest of the group is good, okay, you're gonna have a fine time. But if the rest of the group is bad, you're still only doing 40k, so your numbers don't change. It's just the contribution that you're adding just detracts so much, and I think they need to change that. Again, I'd say if your target goal is, say, tuning around everyone doing 100k or whatever, and the numbers can be changed in proportion, but if the target goal is 100k, 30k of that damage should come from the buffs to everyone, and then basically 70% of an evoker's damage, in my opinion, should come from their own abilities, and 30% should come from the buffs that they're giving to everyone else.
Yeah,
that's
so
my opinion.
For me, when I was doing mythics with Lynch the other like, week ago, whatever it was, on my evoker, I was doing like 30-40k overall, and then he was logging it so you can see how much I was doing realistically. And I was just like, I was in the middle of the pack, and then we got into a good group where the DPS didn't die, the tank didn't die, and when it came out and you checked the sims, or not the sims, the logs,
yeah.
I was number 1 over everybody as augmentation, because I had a good DPS. The tank was damaging, and the healer was damaging too. That's another huge thing. Just having a healer that knows how to damage or when to damage.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's the thing. That's why augmentation is so broken. Is, again, when you have a good group, augmentation is stronger than anything else in the game. But when you have a bad group, augmentation is one of the worst specs to bring. If you have other bad players, augmentation is the worst spec to bring. Like I said, I think I just mentioned this a long time ago, but like, if say one of us needs to get carried or something, we're like, yeah, we'll carry you. If you're carrying on your evoker, you're gonna need to go devastation, not augmentation, because you cannot carry somebody as an augmentation evoker. Yeah, no, and again, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the buff is too strong, and they don't do enough damage on their own to be able to properly balance it. Because I think if you can properly balance it to where 70% of the damage is coming from the evoker's own abilities and actual stuff, then if somebody dies, it's much more tunable, in my opinion. Like, somebody dies, you can still make up for that somewhat. It's not going to destroy your damage. I think that it becomes more about your own skill instead of everyone else's skill to a greater extent. I just think the balancing on it right now, it's impossible to tune evoker.
Yeah. I think they need to nerf it a lot and buff devastation, because like I was telling you, and I'll tell the podcast listeners that Preheat, very good player, plays augmentation a lot. I was asked a question when I was watching the stream. The guy's like, is it bad if you're running devastation in Mythic? And the guy's like, yeah, like, you play augmentation or you don't play at all, kind of thing. No one wants devastation when you can have an augmentation.
And, like I said, I don't agree with that mindset necessarily. I understand what his point was, though. Because again, if you don't like playing augmentation, play devastation. If you like devastation, play devastation. Play. My philosophy is play what you enjoy. If you enjoy playing whatever the meta is, then play augmentation. If you hate playing augmentation and you're only playing it because it's the top, don't play it. Play something else. It's a game. Ultimately it is a game. It's about having fun. So play what class and spec you enjoy.
So I put a link in the thing under Metacomps if you want to look at that Warcraft logs. This is from the past week is all. So you can kind of see how the meta is shifting a little bit, besides the top 3, obviously.
Right.
You can see that Arcane Mage bypasses balance and enhancement now at this point. What? Good.
It's like going back to the changes and how they don't affect anything.
Right.
The Shadow Priest. So Shadow Priest is another big one. Shadow Priest has been basically the entire season from week 1. Like, augmentation obviously didn't join the meta until augmentation released halfway through. But Shadow Priest, even before Fire Mage was in the top, Shadow Priest was number 1 across the board for Mythic Plus. And Blizzard has nerfed it like 5 separate times at this point. They just keep nerfing it and nerfing it and nerfing it. And the meta doesn't change. It's still in the meta. And Blizzard doesn't understand the damage has nothing to do with why Shadow Priest is in the meta. Shadow Priest is in the meta because It
Mass spell,
has
mind suit,
yeah,
fear,
it
stun,
has
silence.
Mass Dispel, the Mind Suit. You can skip so many packs. There's several dungeons where there are really difficult packs or really inefficient packs that should be skipped, and literally the only way to skip them is with Mind Soothe. Shroud doesn't work
Right.
because they can detect stealth, so
Yeah.
you Mind Soothe it, and Mind Soothe is available like every 5 seconds, so it's not like it's got a big long cooldown on it like Shroud does. So Shadow Priests have basically been a requirement at high levels.
Staple.
Well, it's not even a staple, it's just a requirement. Like literally, Blizzard could keep nerfing Shadow Priest to the ground until you get it doing to where it's barely doing any damage. It's going to be brought every single key
Yeah.
because it is a necessity for the high keys. These guys that are trying to push, get up to 30s and whatnot. You're going to have a Shadow Priest in every single comp because of all the utility it brings. It's just like Guardian Druid. Guardian Druid, it wasn't about the damage, Blizzard, but you nerfed the damage. The issue is survivability, utility. Shadow Priest, it brings survivability through Vampiric Embrace, and it has utility through Mind Soothe, and Dominate Mind is big as well. I know Lynch doesn't ever use it, but Dominate Mind is very big as well.
Yeah.
You've got the Psychic Scream or whatever it is that nice
Scream
AOE.
Fear.
Yep.
Psychic, of course, stun, silence, kick.
Yeah, like it's just
And the nice thing about Priest Lockout doesn't require to interrupt a cast. You can just throw it on someone and have it as a blanket.
Right. Yeah.
So which a lot of classes don't have.
Yeah. But yeah, like you have so much extra stuff that the stamina buff is like whatever. It's not the big issue. It's nice, but that's not the reason they're brought. It's all the utility. Their damage isn't even that strong right now. I feel like their damage really. I bet I would say honestly, right now there are probably 7 or 8 classes that do more damage in Mythic Plus than Shadow Priest does.
I agree.
But they don't have nearly utility. They don't have the skip ability, and that's the issue with these dungeons. Also, and again, I think that's the other thing that can't be understated here is the survivability has been a big thing for these high keys. Guardian Druid with Nature's Vigil, Vampiric Embrace for that's the Vampiric Embrace is the one that heals the group, right?
It was single targeted abilities, yeah.
Yeah, so Vampiric Embrace, then Mage brings. Does Fire Mage have a barrier, like a shield, like what you guys were doing with your Frost Mages?
Yes, so that's for all 3 specs.
So yeah, you've got a shield like that can be put across the group. Augmentation has tons of defensive abilities. And then, Holy Pally, which is what we're going to get to now. The Holy Pally can do a ton of damage, and it also has a strong healing. Now, another big thing was their Blessing of Autumn, whatever, the different seasonal blessings.
Oh, like the Blessed Summer.
Yes, it has some very strong damage that it adds to people. It's very strong. They did nerf that, so at least they addressed that slightly. However, they nerfed Holy Pally healing by like 5 or 6% total. I think it's 5%. It's not the healing numbers. Every single healer has enough healing numbers to handle Mythic Plus. It's not an HPS issue. It's just the way that the healers are built. Right now, the big issue in Mythic Plus is unavoidable spike damage. And it's because of all the different crap that they did, them claiming healers are too strong, and so they did this stuff. But now healers can't keep up with the spike damage. A lot of healers, like on my Resto Druid, it's so hard to deal with spike damage because I basically have Swiftmen every 30 seconds, and that's my only quick, strong, single target heal, which is what you need. Outside of that, it's all just a bunch of AoE type healing hots that don't heal fast enough to actually help. Holy Pally, though, has great spot healing, and it's pretty much the only healer class that I feel has great spot healing. So that's kind of why Holy Pally is there, is because Mythic Plus requires strong spot healing, and Holy Pally is about the only healing class that has strong spot healing.
I don't know much about healers. I don't know much about healers, but I kind of thought that Russell Shaman had pretty good spot healing.
Nope. Theirs is Resto Shaman does amazing damage, but their spot healing isn't that great.
What about Holy Priest?
Nope.
Holy Priests are strong.
Holy Priests are like the worst healer in the game right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are extremely weak. I don't know why they're weak, but like if you look at the makeup, the only healer that is used less than Holy Priest is Mistweaver Monk. Discipline Priest is the second most used healer.
Okay, so I'm looking at Mythic logs on Warcraft logs for healers that are within the range of the last week, 95 percentile. It's Holy Pally, Disc Priest, Resto Shaman, Holy Priest, Resto Druid, Prez Evoker, and Mistweaver Monk last.
Yeah. Which Preservation Evoker and Resto Druid, I don't know why they dropped so low. Probably just the spot, probably just the lack of spot healing. I don't know anything about Preservation Evoker, but I do know that Restoration Druid, like literally our single target healing is not great. It is more about HOTS and healing everybody over time, and it just doesn't fit with the way these dungeons hit. Mistweaver Monk. So Mistweaver Monk is actually very strong.
I think so too.
Can be very strong. It's just not popular because of the playstyle. I don't think people like the playstyle. I think Mistweaver, in my opinion, needs a full-on rework at this point in the game, because Mistweaver has been, while it's been very strong, and I honestly have loved Mistweaver Monk, there's two issues with it. One, I think people don't like the playstyle, and two, I don't think it's been as bad this expansion, but I know in Shadowlands and in BFA, Mistweaver Monks were mana heavy. I mean, they were seriously. I feel like in BFA, Mistweaver Monks were the strongest throughput healers in the game. Mistweaver was unbelievably so strong with healing, but they'd have to stop and drink almost every other pull. That was always the issue that I felt like with Mistweavers. They were stronger than anyone, but they were mana intensive.
So I got the 95 percentile last week for tags. What do you think of this list? So Guardian number 1.
Yep.
Vengeance number 2.
Yep.
Blood number 3.
Yep.
Brewmaster number 4.
Yep.
Prot number 5.
Yep.
And Prot Warrior 6. So Prot Value 5. Prot Warrior 6.
Basically been what it's been since the
Blood
DK moved up a bit since Augmentation came out, and they buffed up Blood DK damage by like 8%. But it's still not great. People don't like the way Blood DKs are played right now. What they want is to go back to like what they were during Shadowlands, but honestly, screw Blood DKs. I don't like Blood DK as a tank. They're so slow. I don't like them. I don't like the playstyle. I hated Shadowlands where Blood DK was the only tank. Like that was the tank. That was the tank to play. Because all the self healing, I hated it.
I gotta say, I think Blood Death Knight's one of the harder tanks to play.
I agree. Yeah, I think it is a much harder tank.
And it's kind of funny that I was going to a fire with Austin. And he's just driving me. We're talking about WoW. And I was like, Austin, me and Buck literally have talked many times about how good you were and how fast you learned Blood DK.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's never played WoW at a max level, and he's like pushing like 2K IO on Blood Death Knight, and been playing Blood for like a month.
Right.
I told him he's did pretty good for like this. Like, I feel like Blood's not that easy.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Blood TK. I've never liked. I've tried it a couple times, and I just don't like the play style. Which is funny because it literally has a play style that I typically like, where it's got a ton of self healing. I didn't like the bone armor stuff. I don't like the rune management. I don't like rune management. I didn't like the way it played out. I don't know. I might give it a try some point in time. We'll see. But yeah, I just didn't care for it.
Yeah.
Not my thing. But yeah, no. So with the meta comp, like all these nerfs and everything they didn't address any of the real issues. That's the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway is they nerfed all this stuff, and none of it affects the actual comp. You're still going to see that same comp as your top comp. And it's more of an issue of what these dungeons require rather than an issue with the classes. It's because like I feel like Mind Soothe isn't that big of a deal. You can't nerf Mind Soothe. You can't just be like, well,
Yeah,
they can't have Mind Soothe. But Mind Soothe is a requirement in like half of these dungeons, and
yeah.
that's an issue with the
I
dungeon, not with the class.
I think I told you maybe like 2 months ago now at this point, but I was like, a streamer said like if Shadow Priest gets nerfed, they're just gonna bring a priest healer. 'Cause, like they need a priest in a group for mind soothe and
Yeah. Well,
whatnot. So like,
and that's
she,
also a big part of why you see Discipline Priest as the second most used healer.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
It's yeah,
I think the some of the issues, the two issues that Blizzard needs to kind of look at going forward is the spike damage is ridiculously dumb. Like, I mean, you talk about the Therian's Lair, you get the stone, the pelters in there. It's they put out so much damage, and it's
so much.
unavoidable. There's no aggro, so it's just hitting
Can't
random
kick it.
people. You can stun it, but the stun lasts for half a second, and then they immediately keep casting it. So like, what big whoop.
Yeah,
Um, it's the honest goodness way to deal with it is to like hard CC one with like an imprison or a paralysis or something like that, and then kill the other one, and then kill them one at a time. But that's such a waste of time, and that's not, in my opinion. And this is something that I used to get mad at you guys for, mainly Lynch. He would want me to CC a caster or something in a pack that we'd be pulling. And I don't know, my opinion is if you have to CC, if you have to hard CC and add to do a pull, you're not doing Mythic Plus right. Because breaking a single, taking a single pack and breaking it into two pulls essentially is a terrible method of playing Mythic Plus, in my opinion. So if that is a
yeah,
requirement, that's an issue with the dungeon. And then
yeah,
the other way to deal with it is to have a priest that can mind soothe the first one, and you can skip it. That's again, that's the other way to do it. Shroud will work in Eltharian's Lair, but mind soothe works on a lot of other stuff. I know in um, what is it? Halls of Infusion. You've got the Mind Soothe skips on the where you can skip past the dragons on the
yeah.
little hallway. You've got in what am I thinking of here? Alderman, you can use Mind Soothe to skip past the dragons at the end. You can put Mind Soothe on all sorts of stuff. Honestly, in Eltharian's Lair, there's Mind Soothe used quite a few different spots. But there's so many places that you skip stuff with Mind Soothe, and it's just that's a huge thing. And again, it's not like Mind Soothe is this super overpowered ability. It's something that's been in the
Yeah,
game for I don't know how long. It's
yeah,
just that this season the dungeons require it. So for so many of them, and then Mass Dispel again. Mass Dispel is not an overpowered ability, but it's a necessity in several of the dungeons.
yeah.
Um, so unless they fix that part of it, they so this is something I was talking to a buddy about the other day. Is like back in BFA, what was one of the most fun seasonal affixes we ever had, in my opinion, was the obelisk. I don't know if you remember the
Oh,
obelisk or not, where
yeah.
you would click an
Do
obelisk.
skips.
Yeah, you could click an obelisk, you fight a lieutenant, you can go, you're like in an alternate
In a
reality
phased
version.
area.
Yeah, you're in a void version of the dungeon, and there's no ads except for you and whatever the lieutenant is. And you can pull the lieutenant to wherever you want to kill him at, and wherever you kill him, puts another obelisk there. And you could skip any pack in the dungeon that you wanted to skip. You could skip with that.
Yeah,
And that to me was one of the most fun seasons I ever had because it gave you so many options to skip things. Because the issue and the whole reason I think they brought that affix in was because, much like Shadow Priest right now, in BFA, rogues were a necessity because you needed Shroud for skips. And that was the reason they brought that affix in was to try to break away from people having to have rogues. I mean, in MDI, there were people running double rogues because
yep.
they needed two shrouds back then.
So I have a question on my page right now. So the talent with the mass barrier for your team,
Yes.
there's a choice: mass barrier or mass invisibility. You think mass visibility would be worth it in certain dungeons? You think?
Potentially.
So it's a 12-second invis on a 5-minute cooldown.
So it's like a shorter shroud.
Yeah, a little bit shorter. Not by much, but about 3 seconds.
Yeah, I mean it potentially could be useful.
Yeah, like 12 seconds.
Honestly,
yeah.
Is that something a fire mage can have as well?
Yep.
So again, there's another reason why fire mage is used over a rogue. Because if you have that and you have something that maybe mind soothe won't quite work on, but you need the invisibility or a shroud, you can just use a fire mage. And a fire mage is doing more damage than sub rogue and has the barrier and other stuff that's better. Why would you bring a sub rogue instead of, or any rogue instead of a fire mage? So yeah, and I think that's kind of always been something that Mythic Plus has had to combat, is you need ways to skip mobs that are not appealing for Mythic Plus. Because every dungeon has mobs that you just like, that's not a good mob, we need to skip. And if if the game has limited it to where only this class can skip that pack, then you're going to see that class be in the meta. And so I think that's kind of something Blizzard, again, I think the Obelisk thing was so nice because it basically broke the meta to where, hey, bring whatever the hell you want because it doesn't matter. You can skip anything you want to skip. Know? So, yeah, I don't know. I personally, I don't, and this is more just a me thing. It doesn't match with the rest of the WoW community. Me personally, I honestly don't care that the meta is Guardian Druid, Shadow. I don't care that it's been the same meta for the entire season. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me because I play what I want to play and I'll bring whatever I want to bring. I don't care. Now, I understand the community, obviously, it's not necessarily great for the community. I also do think, though, there's a little bit of overreaction to the meta as far as, oh, it's so bad. Like, I understand it is worse than it's been at any point since Mythic Plus has come out. But ultimately, my question to you is, are 20s doable with any class and spec combination? Yes.
Yeah.
Are they harder to do with certain comps than others? Sure. Are they easier to do with certain comps? Sure. Are they still timeable and doable with any comp in the game? Yes. Yep. Any tank can do 20s. Any healer can do 20s. Any DPS can do 20s. Plain and simple. And with that being the highest level of reward, you can do everything in Mythic Plus with that. If you want to push IO and try to get in the top 100 for IO, sure, you got to play meta. But again, I think people look at, the top, like when we were looking at the top 500 time dungeons a while back, and like all but 6 of the top 500 were, I don't remember what had, I think it's all but 6 had a Shadow Priest in them.
Yep.
And again, like you look at that and go, wow, that's awful. But then on top of that, you have to look at that and go, how many of these teams are how many of these time dungeons were ran by the same teams? You're talking maybe probably 20, 30 different teams there, not 500 different teams. Those are just 500 separate runs. So like a lot of those are the same people. So obviously if they are playing the meta comp, they're going to be playing the meta comp in pretty much every single dungeon. So a lot of those top runs are the same people. So I think people look at it and they overreact a little bit and go, wow, all of the top 500 runs are the exact same comp. Yes, but they're also pretty much the exact same teams. So, that's the other thing. It does not matter what the meta is when you're talking about the high keys and these teams that's their goal. Their goal is to push and be the top player in their realm or in the world. When that is their goal, to have the highest Mythic Plus rating in the world, it doesn't matter what your meta is. You could have the most balanced meta ever. You could have it where literally class A through Z is all doing within 100 DPS of each other. They're going to play whichever one has got the highest potential.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And you're going to see that's going to be the top class that they will play. And then what happens is everyone that's not them just follows what they're doing. And that's kind of one of the things that that drives me nuts is like Lynch. Lynch, I love you, Lynch. You always you do great, you do. But you always want to play the top spec. But like you don't enjoy it all the time. and that's the thing, like, and that's what I hate people seeing people go, well, I have to play the top spec because that's the top spec. I hate it, but I have to play it. Like you with augmentation, you don't like playing augmentation. I don't want you to have to play augmentation. Play whatever you want to play. Like I will never. I am not somebody who's going to say you have to play this spec because this is the top spec. You must play it. No.
Yeah.
Now I will say, if whatever class you are playing, like if there's utility options you're not using or whatever abilities that like are hugely beneficial for the group, I will be like, hey, you should use this and use this instead of that. Like, you know, I want, if whatever you're playing, I want us to be using it and playing it to the best potential we can. But as far as like, I'm not a fan of making somebody play a class that they don't enjoy, just because the top players do it. Or like, you know, unless you're pushing that top rating, play what you enjoy. That to me is my big thing. That's why I've played Demon Hunter for 6 years now. Like Demon Hunter's been a terrible spot for tanking for most of those 6 years. They've been bottom tank for most seasons, and I still play it because I like Demon Hunter. That's my favorite class. It's what I do. It's what I love. I'm not changing it.
Like that being said, for me, like my main class I play, like for example, my mage and rogue have been classes I played every expansion since I started playing. So they're my OG characters.
Right.
So I know a soft spot for them, but there's classes that I wish I could play more and try out. And I always wanted to go back and mess around just having Demon Hunter at some point because it is fun. I know it's not the best, but it's one of the funnest specs out there.
Yeah, 100%. I right now I do more damage with tank than I do as a Havoc just because I'm so out of practice with Havoc because I've literally I have tanked now since basically the end of BFA. I have done nothing but tank. Honestly, I bet you I have probably done less than 20 dungeons as a DPS since the end of BFA. I swear I've probably done less than 20 dungeons as a DPS, and usually when I do it, I do less damage as a Havoc than I do as Vengeance. It's sad, but it's just the case. I used to be so good on Havoc. I used to be back in early BFA and end of Legion. I was so good on Havoc, and then not anymore. But no.
Yeah, so we'll see changes coming. Pretty sure we'll see some adjustments come 10.7.
Right, yes. But yeah, again, my message to everyone out there is ignore the meta, play what you want to play. Don't unless
you're not doing MDI 30 level keys.
Yes, yeah, unless you are watching us and you are an MDI participant, then thank you for watching us. That's awesome. Also, why are you watching us? But yes, unless you are actually competing in MDI or trying to push for top 100, like don't worry about the meta. Just play what your favorite class is. Because here's the thing. What is happening right now with the meta, especially with Shadow Priests, is they're getting bummed out every single week for the last month and a half because they get nerfed every other week for the last month and a half. And every time, oh, poor Lynch. This is why I'm like, one, I don't know that Lynch has that much fun on his Shadow Priest to begin with. But like every single week that they nerf it, he's just like, oh man, that sucks. Oh, it's so bad. Why are they nerfing it? I'm like, because it's the meta. Like that's the thing. That's my opinion of why I don't care about. For me, this is one of the big reasons why I don't care about what's meta and why I don't ever play a class just because it's the meta. Is because if you're the meta, guess what's coming for you? Nerfs. Non-stop nerfs. Until you are no longer the meta, they're going to keep nerfing you. So, to me, that's not enjoyable. I don't like it when my class gets nerfed, so why am I going to invest all this time into a class that's just going to end up getting nerfed? That's my opinion on it. But again, for me, I have Demon Hunter. It's what I love. I love that class. So ride or die, buff, nerf, whatever happens. I'm Demon Hunter through and through. So
Yeah. So for me, I've been like I've been waiting kind of to see how Rogue's going to be in the next little bit because I'm not having that much fun as sub. Just because I've been sub for like 3 expansions now, you know.
right, we'll try
But
outlaw or combat or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called
oh,
there.
Outlaw. No,
Outlaw. Okay.
I was gonna put some of my extra time into doing Demon Hunter stuff, I think. But
Gotcha.
I just been thinking about melees to play that seem fun, not necessarily picking for the meta. Because
Yeah.
you know it. Like, we already just talked about it 2 minutes ago. Demon Hunters, tank, DPS doesn't matter. They're extremely fun.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I might do it at some point. We'll see. But yeah,
Yep.
cause like you know me, I like to have at least one range, one
Yeah.
melee.
Yeah.
It's just nice to belt it out.
But
But yeah, starts getting off the track there.
yep, no, you're good. So then also we'll jump into our week in WoW. So what have you? What was your week in your very short week in WoW? Like,
So I got back from camping and had only done 1 chemo mage, and then so I guess other than that, we did some stuff last night. That was the only thing I've been doing this WoW.
right?
WoW this week was just we did what, like 4 keys though,
I
something
think
like
we
that.
did 3 last night. I think it was 3. It may have been 4, but I think it was 3. I don't know.
I think it was 3 as well. But
I know you
yeah,
ran a
just
bunch
doing
of stuff
some,
on
like,
augmentation on the Sunday night with Lynch.
yes, I did. That was mixed feelings. I think we ran 8 dungeons that night,
I think
and
so. Yeah.
I hated my life for about 7 of those 8 runs.
Yep. Yep.
So, but when we had a good group, it was a lot more enjoyable.
Right.
But yeah, so I played Aug a little bit, actually quite a bit, and then last night I played some Frost Mage, Arcane Mage stuff, and that's a lot of fun, pretty strong too. So that's all I've done really so far, but I'm leaving again for a camping trip tomorrow, and I'll be gone till Tuesday.
Yep.
And then I have nothing planned until April, so
All
I can
right.
just chill it out.
There you go.
Yes. So what about you?
So yeah, I've finished leveling up the druid on the EU server. So that was
Yeah,
a big,
that's right.
that was
Yeah.
nice. Got that done. Still need to get a monk boosted up over there. But
Right.
no, pretty much just chilling and running keys. Focused pretty much on my demon hunter, the druid.
Yeah.
And no, just to, I'm not being hypocritical. I am not playing a druid just because it's the meta. My two main tanks, and Bio can attest to this. I primarily have played Vengeance Demon Hunter and Guardian Druid, since basically middle of Shadow. I think second season of Shadowlands is when I really picked up Guardian Druid.
Yeah, because remember we ran a lot of mythics
yes.
with your druid.
Yeah,
and
I like Guardian Druid, especially back then. It was nice because it was a 3-button class, like legitimately 3-button class.
Right.
Those buttons were swipe, thrash, and incarn. And then once you hit incarn, you just hit thrash, 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 thrash. Legit, that was the play.
Yeah.
So it was a shut your brain off, or if you're very tired, it was a great tank to play. It's got a slight bit more complexity now, not quite. Still not all that complex. It's still pretty easy to play. I'd still say it's a great beginner's tank. But it does have a few more buttons to hit now. But no, I still enjoy it quite a bit playing it. It's also just very strong, so that's nice. But yeah, primarily just focusing on those 2 right now. Got my crafting stuff pretty high up, so I've got my professions are coming along nicely. I can craft a lot of the gear that we need. Any of the rings or the necklace, I can craft those for anyone in our group. I can craft swords, any kind of sword weapons I can craft.
Cool.
Well, it's most of them. I can't do the 2-handed ones because I don't have the recipes yet because my renown's not high enough. But yeah, I can craft all sorts of stuff. Leather boots, leather belts, cloth boots. Might be able to do cloth belts here shortly. I'm not sure exactly where I'm at on that, but yeah. Been enjoying that, getting all that stuff done. I think I got all my profession stuff that I need to get done already done this week, so
nice.
Focus on dungeons at night, and then focus on farming stuff on EU for Race World First here during the day. I am working with a team for Race World First, so that's been a new thing that has developed in the last month or so. So
If people don't realize, he's racing me, by the way. Just kidding.
They did ask when I did mention that I had done stuff with you. They were like, is he wanting? Would he be interested? And I was like, I don't think he wants to switch over to an EU account.
No, if I did, I'm not leveling first.
Yeah,
huge deal for me.
No,
it's you, but
yeah, exactly. You know, it's not your focus. We were just kind of doing that together, and we did really well. Like that's the thing.
Yep,
like,
we did.
like I told him, like, listen, he's very good. He's actually good at it. But it's just not. It's not his. That's not his interest in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. And for those that don't know, or I've talked about from time to time, but I currently have the world record for the fastest 10 to 70 speed run, leveling speed run in Dragonflight right now. So if you head over to speedrun.com and look up the World of Warcraft ones, you'll see my name at the #1 spot there. So that's kind of how they found me and got with me, and so we're working on that. So that'll be fun. I'm enjoying that a lot. It gives me something to do during the daytime when the kids are up and I can't do dungeons. So as we get closer to, I mean, we still are like over a year away from the next Race World First, but we've got some speed runs planned for, I think, the WoW anniversary in November, possibly something going on at the end of October. Not 100% sure on all that, or whether or not I'll have stuff ready in time for that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've been playing tons of WoW, especially now that I'm only getting like 3 hours of sleep on my work days. I just spend the other 8 hours that I would like to be asleep playing WoW. So, you know. But yeah, a lot of WoW time in, getting stuff done. But yeah, that's about it. Gonna keep pushing more keys this week, get stuff done. Might play some Baldur's Gate 3. I did pick that up the other day.
Okay.
Played it for about 10 minutes the other day, and that's about all the time I had to play had available. But yeah, we might play that sometimes during the day when I'm farming or camping something and just sitting on my EU account, not actually doing anything. Might pull up Baldur's Gate 3, have some fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yep.
If you guys have any questions, comments, you want to, you know, any feedback, thoughts on the stuff we talked about today, feel free to head to the YouTube channel and leave a comment on there, or on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, whatever your venue is that you're listening to us, watching us on. Leave some comments on there, like, subscribe, whatever. You know, you can check me out at on Twitch. I am twitch.tv/Buckblind. YouTube, we are Buckblind and Demon Hunter. And on Twitter, at BuckblindDH. Mr. Bio, what are your socials, sir?
Got a QQ_Bioshock for Twitch and YouTube.
There we go. And I think that is all I got. You got anything else?
Nope, it's pretty good.
All right. Thank you all for listening and watching, and hope you all have a great week. Go get those keys done and have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, later.
Bye.